how powerful it is, the movie and visual entertainment industry, when they literally have our downtime, they have our rest, they have our attention, and on top of that, they have the power of throwing at us any sort of messaging, because we are just consuming, because we are numb by it.
To put it into a basic example, if someone was to tell you, 2 + 2 is 5, and you always believe that, and then someone comes along to you and corrects you, be like, actually, it's 2 + 2 is 4. It takes you a lot longer to break that down, because you have to break down what you already know and you already believe to be true, and then build on that again, start up again. So it's very intentional what they're trying to do, promote this stuff early as possible, get them desensitized as early as possible, because what you're doing, you're building up a generation to promote this stuff, to celebrate this stuff, to find it very normal.
Like if someone comes and introduce them to Satanism, they're obviously going to think it's something cool, because they've been programmed to think that from all these series. And if someone comes and introduces them to witchcraft as well, they're gonna be like, oh, sick. Like, I've been watching witchcraft all my life, like, finally I can access to it. Do you think that is a coincidence that nowadays every single movie is trying to push the LGBTQ agenda on it? Every movie is trying to push abortion on it. Every movie is trying to push feminism on it. Every movie is trying to push the devil as the good guy, the rebellion as the correct thing to do. Why is that?
People as well, a lot of Christians may say, look, I'm saved. Do I need to do this? Why do I have to cut out some movies? I mean, absolutely, we're not saying that you're not saved. But my question would be, why are you trying to see how much you can get away with under God's rule?
You can be saved, you can be a Christian and trust in the Lord, but if you're not willing to give up everything to have a healthy, strong, and consistent and integrate relationship with the Holy Spirit, your Christianity is not going to last long. If you can't worship Him by what you watch, don't expect to worship Him for eternity, because you're clearly not ready.
Well, hello, welcome back to our 6th episode of the Gentiles podcast. I'm Daniel and this is Sarah, if you haven't tuned in before. But what we're going to talk about today is another form of entertainment. So we touched on music before in the last 2 episodes, but we want to continue that theme on and look at basically movies, series, and how they essentially consume us. But the sort of topics that we're going to speak about today, we've kind of summarize it in 3 points again, if you like. I think the first one we're going to talk about, we've titled it The Counterfeit Rest. And essentially this is the fact that entertainment has sold us this fake type of rest, being able to unwind, escape reality basically by numbing ourselves watching TV, and basically just the fact that it's not a real definition of rest and what we actually need in our lives, but it's just what the entertainment industry wants out from us. So that's the first one. The second one we're going to talk about is dopamine addiction, going into the reason why we feel a certain way and why we can't get off our phones. I know we struggle with that as well sometimes, but yeah, just the effects it has as well on our brains, on our daily activities and things like that. So that's the second point, looking at dopamine addiction, and how it kind of desensitizes our brains with certain topics too. I know that you'll touch into that a little bit more as well. And then finally, why kind of most Christians are comfortable watching worldly movies, really. I mean, this was obviously a bit of a revelation for us. So I know everyone has their own journey out there, but we want to talk about the reasons why some Christians feel they can watch certain movies, why some Christians don't, and our testimony as well from, where we first came to Christ to where we are now and developing and being more sanctified day on day. But yeah, that's kind of the sort of summary on that side. I think that's all right, is it? Or...
Yeah, that sounds really good. Okay, so shall we start with the first point, the counterfeit rest? So when we talk about counterfeit rest, we mean we are thinking we're resting, but we're actually not resting. And we want to touch on this point because back in the day, people used to rest in different ways, right? Like people used to go to work, then finish work, then make time to read, to spend time with their family, to road trip with their family, to go and make new memories. And that was the way of resting back in the day. But nowadays, we are resting by watching TV and by watching series and movies and television and video games and Instagram. And we specifically make time for this. That's our downtime, basically. Like after work, we're like, oh, I can't wait to finish my series, or I can't wait to finish this movie I was trying to watch, or I can't wait to, I don't know, scroll 2 hours through Instagram. So why do we think that resting is constantly stimulating ourselves? We believe that the world has redefined the concept of rest and has replaced it with unwinding from the real world. So now, instead of us resting, we're escaping our own reality. And when we are trying to escape our own reality, we are distracting ourselves, and we're instead of being rested, we are just distracted. We're constantly in this distraction mood, right? Like Instagram is a distraction, movies are a distraction. Movies. Exactly. Everything is a distraction. And that constant stimulation that keeps us in a low level stress or like low level agitation, it can become addictive because when you're constantly finding something to distract you rather than finding real rest, that can become basically your solution to any sort of problem that comes your way. So for example, you had a difficult day at work, then what do you do after? You sit on your couch and you watch a movie.
It's like a temporary solution for a permanent problem.
Exactly. It's like a psychological game. Like the solution of me having a problem at work is going home and sitting on a couch and immerse myself in a different reality. Because my reality sucks. So I might as well just get immersed in someone else's. So it's not really rest. It's basically, I do quite a strong comparison. That is like, it's basically like a drug game. You know, drugs take you out of your reality, and you can find comfort in them. I mean, I've never consumed drugs, but this is what I've read. But it's like,
that was quite a quick comparison. I'm not gonna lie,
but like drugs take you out of your reality, right? And they make you find peace and they make you find rest. But then once you're out of the drug dopamine, then you're back into your reality. You haven't solved any problem and you're as tired and as depressed and as anxious as you were in the past.
You actually feel so much more tired after watching something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when we watch series or something, we'll watch maybe 3 or 4 episodes, you feel
you actually feel exhausted.
Afterwards. Or going to the movies and you come out, you just feel tired.
Yeah.
You always do.
We feel exhausted. We really do feel exhausted. But how do you think we will actually find true rest if it's not by this constant normalization of dopamine that we live in?
Yeah, I mean, I think true rest is basically being present rather than being consumed or escaping somewhere else. You know, it's actually being like present there, like, you know, present in walking your dog, or you know, going for a walk, or even reading a book, spending time with your spouse or family, you know, anything like that. Really, it's just really being away from a screen. To be honest, that's how I look at finding real rest, is just being away from a screen. Because I saw somewhere, it's pretty funny, it's like we wake up to a small screen and then we go to work to look at a medium-sized screen for 8 hours, come home to watch movies on a large screen, and then go to bed looking at a small screen. So we're always attached to things in the digital world that we forget that we're actually present in the real world. So being, you know, truly rested is definitely something that we should take seriously, and helps us to avoid burnout as well. And it's funny because back in the day, what they used to do is that they used to make, like, for example, washing machines, dishwashers, those were actually supposed to be there to save us time instead of letting us do, you know, more things. Basically, we were supposed to be a culture that actually rests more, that has more time with family. That was basically the goal of all these new inventions. But what actually happened is that we just filled up our diaries even more. We ended up working a lot more, essentially. So what we really need to do now is just to set aside some time where we can really rest. You know, if that means picking up a hobby, if that means spending time with your spouse for an hour or two or something like that, you know, just actually have an intentional time out to do nothing or to just have
fully
conversations.
Rest.
Fully rest. Exactly.
And actually, what is very interesting as well, that is that visual entertainment, what it's doing to us is not making us rest, but it's taking away presence and it's taking away meaningful conversations. And by that, it's also taking away critical thinking from kids, mainly from teenagers, because the only thing we are programmed to do is to sit in front of a screen and entertain ourselves and fool ourselves with dopamine, immerse ourselves in a different reality. And when we're out of it, we're completely addicted already to that sensation. So we just look forward to keep doing that over and over again. So yeah,
I think it's crazy as well, because we think that we don't have enough time, but we really do have enough time in everything. Because if someone was to give you an extra 4 or 5 hours a day to do whatever you want, you'll immediately start filling it up with different chunks of time doing different, you know, sorts of things. 2 hours to do catching up on series, half an hour to do some grocery shopping. You know, you'll basically just automatically want to fill that time up somehow and not just even leave an hour to do whatever, to go for a walk or do something spontaneous, you know. So I think for us, we've just got to be so intentional with the time that we have, not get distracted, you know, be intentional with more meaningful conversations, more, you know, time out for you and your spouse, you and your family, you know, things like that. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And also the movie industry, do you think the movie industry is not taking advantage of that? Do you think the movie industry is not taking advantage of the fact that we've made them our rest? We literally, they are our rest. Like we look forward to rest watching everything they produce and they work on. So the movie industry is meant to be, well, movies and TV series and visual entertainment is meant to be addictive, because first of all, it's a business, right? It has to profit from our interaction and our engagement with them. And also cliffhangers, right? They have to create something that is interesting enough and attractive enough for people to carry on watching them every single day, right? And like, for example, that's what happens to us when we watch the series of David or The Chosen, right?
Great series, by the way.
Great.
Just giving a shout out.
Amazing. But when we watch this series and we're in the last episode, we're already depressed because we're like, oh my gosh, we have to wait a year for this for the next season to come out. But that is like, that's the whole purpose of the movie industry, right? Is to make people addicted to these type of movies. So let's summarize what we just said. So we said movies are a resting time. They become addictive. And this type of rest as well, because it's visual entertainment, it has the power of pushing messages and agendas to us, even when we're on our low stress mode or like resting mode, right? So we're very susceptible when we are watching things, because most of the time when we're watching things, we're tired, we are overworked, and we're not really paying attention to every single agenda and message that the things that we're watching are throwing at us. We're just sort of like consuming. We are just consuming. So how powerful it is, the movie and visual entertainment industry, when they literally have our downtime, they have our rest, they have our attention, and on top of that, they have the power of throwing at us any sort of messaging, because we are just consuming, because we are numb by it, because that's exactly that's exactly what's happening. We are numbed, right? When you are tired, when you are not paying attention to what you're watching, you're just watching it to consume, and on top of that, you're trying to find rest from it. You are numbed. So they're taking advantage of making you numb by throwing at you an agenda, and we are going to prove that. We are going to prove it. We're going to prove it. Yeah. This is not conspiracy theories.
Give us some examples.
So yeah. So because, you know, they have the power through these movies and series to throw any sort of social message, spiritual practice. They can promote whatever they want, and we'll be there sitting in our couch, like eating it all.
Literally.
And that will start seeding. That will
planting seeds.
That will start planting seeds in our minds and in our thoughts. And the more we watch it, the more normal and more desensitized we become to it, to the point that we start practicing it or just thinking it's normal, and we start engaging in it. So, example. So I'm going to start with Disney Pixar movies. I grew up watching Disney Pixar, and the Disney Pixar I was watching when I was 5 is not the same Disney Pixar we have right now. So I'm going to start with Onward. That is a movie that came out in 2020. And it is one of the first movies or something like that that directly has an openly LGBTQ character in it. Bear in mind, this is for kids. For children, okay? Okay, I'm just going to say that. Lightyear in 2022, came out in 2022, features also a kiss between two same-sex characters. I think it's two girls that end up kissing each other or something like that. So, well, that's that, right? That is also for kids. Hazbin Hotel. That is this. I don't know what's worse. I don't know if the ones that I mentioned are worse or this one is worse. But anyways, I think they're both, like, all of them equally bad. But Hazbin Hotel promotes Satanism. It literally promotes direct Satanism. And it's about the daughter of Lucifer, and she's called Charlie Morningstar, and she has a deep problem with God. So she thinks that God has a harsh plan by by punishing sin. So she, in response to God is seen as the bad guy in this Hazbin Hotel series. She opens a rehab hotel to help sinners find redemption rather than destruction. So basically, she opens a rehab hotel where sinners can be more sinful and be proud of their sin and vibe with their sin, and they don't have to suffer. So yeah, so Hazbin Hotel is also for kids, promotes direct Satanism. That is literally the message of Satanism. God is bad, Satan is good. So Harry Potter as well is the last one that I'm going to mention, even though I have so many examples to give. I'm just going to stop with Harry Potter. Promotes the practice of witchcraft in a positive way, not even in a negative way. It's not like the witches are the bad ones. No. In Harry Potter, the witches, the warlocks, the wizards are the good ones. And you're supposed to use witchcraft when you want to, I don't know, fight evil or form friendships or solve any problem, right? We can see that through all Harry Potter movies. I didn't watch them personally, but my sisters did. And
yeah, I didn't watch too much. So I don't actually know what happens that much. I just know the main main characters as well.
It's witchcraft. So it's promoting witchcraft. Okay, so there's plenty of other examples we can give about what the visual entertainment industry pushes. But what is interesting from all these things is that if they're pushing this on kids, imagine what they're trying to push as well on adults. And we haven't even realized, just because we are consuming. We are numbed by the consumption of this industry.
Yeah, and I think it's that sort of the earlier, the better sort of concept as well that they're trying to push. Because the first time you're told about something is what you automatically associate with the truth. And so, to put it into a basic example, if someone was to tell you, 2 + 2 is 5, and you always believe that, and then someone comes along to you and corrects you, be like, actually, it's 2 + 2 is 4. It takes you a lot longer to break that down, because you have to break down what you already know and you already believe to be true, and then build on that again, start up again. So it's very intentional what they're trying to do, promote this stuff early as possible, get them desensitized as early as possible, because what you're doing, you're building up a generation to promote this stuff, to celebrate this stuff, to find it very normal. So that's exactly what they're trying to push. And so why why we have to be so careful with that, you know, Christians and non-Christians, to be honest, you know, because this has, you know, drastic effects for the new generation to come as well, especially with kids nowadays being on screens literally 24/7. It's something that you've got to have your eye on. So yeah, I mean, I think there are quite a few other examples as well in terms of specific movie series that are pushed directly onto kids, because I know some, you know, there's some series, and you know, it's arguable that some Harry Potter films are not just for kids, etc. But there are some that are just basically appropriate for kids, pushed onto kids a lot more. So some example of these kids movies, such as like The Owl House, which is another Disney pushed film, of course and it's basically about this human girl who becomes a witch's apprentice in a demon realm. Like, that's targeted towards kids to teenagers, and something that is easily accessible. It's on Disney, right? So that's one thing. There's another one called Chibi Devi, and it's a Japanese anime basically where a middle school girl discovers a devil baby in her bed. So it's just very demonic, but taken as a light-hearted joke, and of course, again, pushed directly onto kids. And finally, there's a movie series called The Baskervilles. I don't know it that much. I just found it, came across it. But it's a British animated series, again, about a twisted theme park that's modeled after hell. It's run by some demonic theme park boss or something similar along those lines. So you can see how all of these are actually themed in a similar way, you know, with the devil almost being glorified, and the good guy, right, across Disney, across Pixar, you know. So definitely got to have, you know, a lot of discernment there when it comes to these kids films, and what we're looking at and what we allow kids to look at as well, and especially your kids. So yeah, but
wasn't there one that had like someone that had an Antichrist daughter or something like
that? Yeah, I think there's one called like Little Demon or something like that. I don't even know. It's horrible. You can look it up and find it for yourself and realize that you're not dreaming. This is actually something that's out there.
Honestly, and it's just with the purpose of desensitizing kids to Satanism, desensitizing kids to witchcraft, to even the Antichrist as well, because then they're going to look at these things. Like, if someone comes and introduce them to Satanism, they're obviously going to think it's something cool, because they've been programmed to think that from all these series, you know? Literally. And if someone comes and introduces them to witchcraft as well, they're going to be like, oh, sick. Like, I've been watching witchcraft all my life. Like, finally, I can access to it. And, you know, so, yeah, it's the devil's agenda, and we have to be super careful with the kids and with ourselves as well, because we think, oh, kids are the ones that are in danger, kids are the ones that can be deceived, but we are weak as well. We need to be discerning.
Hey guys, if you liked what you were hearing and you want to listen to more, feel free to check out the full video in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more content. See you soon.